Hey guys, I'm going to explain this process or method called pulse dosing, which is seen a little bit differently by various people, but I'm going to explain how I see it, which is, you know, kind of how explaining stuff works. It's from my point of view. If you go to yiodine.com and you type in pulse, it'll bring up this page. You can go to yiodine.com slash pulse hyphen dosing. So what is pulse dosing? Have you ever met someone that enjoys a few drinks and doesn't actually get intoxicated or doesn't turn it into a full-time habit? That's actually a great way of looking at pulse dosing. Look past the fact that it's alcohol, and this example shows how a person can use alcohol to quote unquote remedy a situation, which is stress in this example. And we're going to compare that to pulse dosing nutrients. If a person does not consume any of the substance, they might stress out, which is not healthy. We don't realize it, but we're using alcohol and other addictive things to handle stress of some sort, whether it's just stress against our metabolism that's making us tired, or mental stress, or toxicity that's hindering us, and the drug or whatever is inhibiting that, so it makes us feel better. If we weren't stressed out by this completely unnatural environment, we wouldn't be doing this stuff. If they get small amounts every so often, they relieve stress. So, like somebody drinks on the weekends after a stressful week, that's how they enjoy themselves. It's they're not doing it every day, but a couple days a week, they have some beer or alcohol of some sort. If they were to either consume the substance daily or way too much of it when they do consume it, they may eventually end up consuming too much. And we can do the same thing with nutrients. We can not realize that we're taking too much, and if we keep doing that, we're gonna get too much. I mean, there's got to be a threshold somewhere, right? We're essentially doing the same thing for our cells with nutrients. Our cells are stressed out because they are burdened by toxicity or somehow low on nutrients they need. Similar to how we decide to pick up some alcohol, potentially, our cells are telling us what type of nutrients they need for their stress. And they don't really tell us nutrients, they just tell us symptoms, and we have to read that, turn it into something, which is probably where the biggest disconnect is in this, is figuring out how to do that, because it sounds like hogwash. But our cells are low in so many nutrients that it's hard to have any idea what they're trying to tell us. There are a lot of basics we can start with that should eventually get us to the point where we can hear our cells, which is what you hear me talking about a lot. My other site, sickoftired.com, lays out a few good starting points. All of the nutrients I mentioned along the way benefit from pulse dosing, because really life benefits from pulse dosing in a lot of ways. Why pulse dosing? Sometimes people do not notice benefits as they take various supplements. Although this can be annoying and sometimes discouraging, if we just continue to take a bunch of nutrients, we can potentially make the situation worse. Really, anything works that way. If we're have a leaky roof and we put tar on top of it and it doesn't stop the leak, and we keep putting more tar and it doesn't stop the leak, then now we just have a bunch of tar and a leak continuing, and maybe the roof will collapse or something. You can't just do things the wrong way. This would almost be like adding more oil to an engine every time we stop for fuel, even though the oil is already full. We can get away with this for a little while, but if the engine is not somehow using the oil up quickly, we're eventually going to overfill it and most likely cause some type of issue, because there's a reason there's a dipstick in there with a max level. And if we go way past that, and the oil is going to go places it's not supposed to, and the engine's going to hurt itself. So instead of just adding random amounts of nutrients to our system, pulse dosing allows us to regain a better idea of how much or little our system needs of various nutrients. If I am trying a new supplement, I will open the capsule and mix it with some water. As long as this does not taste horrible, I'll sip it slowly while paying attention to how I feel. Although the amounts I am providing my body are very small, they are much larger than my system has been exposed to previously. If I notice energy or digestive noises, etc., I will continue to sip on the supplement slowly for at least a day. Then, depending how busy I am, I might try a capsule the next day. If I got to do a bunch of work or something, and I don't know how it's going to make me feel, I might skip it, and I might try putting more in water. Or if it didn't really do much, then I'll just take a capsule the next day and see what happens. I do this to avoid finally finding a nutrient my body has been waiting for and sending my system flying, which can be uncomfortable. Just like If somebody's like, hey man, I drink a dozen beers and I enjoy it. And you're like, oh, cool. I too want to drink a dozen beers and enjoy it. And you've never had beer before and you drink a dozen of them and you wake up vomiting and stuff like that. You just put too much stuff in a biochemistry lab and I couldn't keep up with it. And that's the same thing that we're doing with like even food and stuff. Maybe when we overeat, it's not even that we ate too much food. It's that we have like there's too many nutrients to process and stuff and like way too much of one thing and not enough of another, which is mainly time probably. Sometimes I take a break from a nutrient completely while keeping an eye out for symptoms of being deficient, meaning like, I watch out for the things that we're supposed to run into when we're low on that. So if I stop taking it and I instantly start noticing things that say you're low on it, then I'm probably low on it. This way I can reintroduce it slowly and get a better idea of what it does or doesn't do for me. Because if I don't take it for a week or a month or something, I take it again, it doesn't do anything, then I probably don't benefit from that nutrient at this point in time. If I ever seem to notice anything at all from a nutrient, I don't take it often. Did I say if I ever seem to know? I think I worded that wrong. Um, so this is my main example for pulse dosing, little image graphic thing that I think might help show this. To keep a fire burning at the right temperature, we can adjust the amount of wood we add as well as how often we add more. By adding small amounts of wood and waiting a bit, we can gain a better idea of how much or little wood needs to be added, as well as how often. But if we just dump a ton of wood in at once, we will most likely go past our ideal amount and remain there for a while, even after stopping that supplemental wood. Even if we just use a constant dose without paying attention to what is or is not doing for us, we might slowly or quickly max out as well. So I think this graphic is pretty cool. Like, if you just go to a max dose and go skyrocketing to the top, we're way at the max, and maybe even who knows how far more, and we're just stuck there. We're pinged. And then if we take a constant dose, if we don't give enough time to let that, you know, ease back off, then we just eventually make it right up there too. Where if we get this comfortable dose and we figure out like, oh hey, I took a little bit and I felt pretty good, and then it wore off and I went back to not feeling that. So I took a little bit more and then I realized this sort of zone that I can stay in and feel warm without just pretty much igniting the room with a huge pile of firewood essentially. So this is how I pulse dose. I own literally thousands of dollars of supplements, probably like $4,000, which kind of sounds insane, but I don't really want to be dead. Um, but 90% of them are about 90% full. So that means that I've just like essentially tasted them and felt my body get benefits from a little bit of those things because my cells just weren't able to absorb or create or whatever it is that I ate, and I could move forward a little bit. And then when I would take more of it, I wouldn't really notice much because I didn't need much. But I also learned a lot about what my body does and doesn't need while looking at my DNA and stuff, which was pretty freaking amazing. So I use individual nutrients and various blends, and I pulse dose each one of them from time to time. If I don't notice anything a few times, that supplement makes its way further back on the shelf where I won't try it again for a few months. And then sometimes I'll end up sending some of those to a friend or something when I'm talking to them and they say this or that and it matches up with that. And otherwise, they just sit there for me to test one day when I feel something and go, hey, that's what L-carnitine is for, or whatever it might be. If I take a supplement and notice better digestion, sleep, clarity, energy, mood, etc., I'll take it again, potentially the same day or daily, till I no longer notice it providing any extra results. At this point, I will pause that supplement and try to see how many days go by before I notice its benefits wear off. Then I'll take it again in a few days and see if I notice benefits again. If I don't, add more days to the amount of time. I wait till I take it again, because if I'm not noticing benefits from it, why do I sit there and keep taking them? And there are times we take something like zinc or whatever and we don't notice anything from it, but we have a ton of zinc deficiencies. Doesn't mean we just take none of it, but we don't sit there and, chew on a ton of it all day. as I continue to do this and find nutrients that help me move forward, supplements that I have tried in the past without results may start working differently now that my body has balanced a few other nutrients. This is why I just rotate through everything over time without just taking it daily, only because that's what the bottle says. And I've expressed this in another video. But like, if my car is broken, sitting in front of the garage where the lawnmower is, I need to fix my car first before I can get the lawnmower out. I might have bought nutrients for the lawnmower, but I can't use them right now because my car's in the way. So I have to buy nutrients for my car. That's kind of what's going on here. We have like a car in the way of the lawnmower, and we got to figure out how to get the car out of the way. But like biologically in ourselves with nutrients. I pulse everything. I buy a lot of alkaline bottled water every once in a while and drink that for a week straight, sometimes a month or three straight if it makes me feel better. Sometimes I'll go grab a quality spring water and do the same thing. Like I'll just go to the supermarket, spend $50 on a couple different spring waters and try all the different ones. I'll buy like the liter bottles of each and see which one makes me feel good. And sometimes I crack one and take a sip and it's like, it feels like it's the first time I drank water. Just, you can tell that it's hydrating you. Sometimes I'll sprinkle salt in my water. Sometimes, like once or twice a year. And sometimes I'll try salt loading several days in a row. So, like, I'll just notice a sort of headache or fatigue or something and be like, this isn't normal. And I'll try salt loading and notice that it either makes me run to the bathroom or I just feel better or both. And I'll just keep up on that until I seem to notice that it's not doing anything anymore. Sometimes I pulse through various sources of protein or fat. So every once in a while, I'll break out a frozen pound of bacon or something and eat that, and whether it's the protein in there or the fat or whatever, I notice extra bowel movements and more metabolism and stuff, and I can feel my system perk up. I like to try a lot of different tea. Like, I have probably three dozen different herbal teas, whether just solo things or combos or whatever it is. I only continue to drink the one that I notice some type of healing reaction from, which means I have one of each about once a month or less. And I mean, it's hard to explain exactly how I go through these things. I'm not like specific about it. I just try not to sit there and consume a bunch of stuff that my body probably has plenty of. Hasn't seen it in literally like generations, and I'm sitting here like, you're gonna get this 3 times a day. That's not how that goes. I pulse through pretty much every form of magnesium. I own almost every form individually, as well as various blends that have a couple different things, and somewhere along the line I have all of them, I believe. I try different forms every so often and stick with whatever causes me to notice anything. I'm also pulsing through electrolytes and various forms of unrefined salt. I take a small amount of calcium once or twice a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. Sometimes I take calcium with magnesium daily. As long as we're getting magnesium and boron and K2 and all these other things that calcium requires to function, then we can take these things. I pulse very slowly with iodine. Over the years, I have tried various doses of iodine. What I have found to work the best is focusing on nutritional balancing, which I am doing by pulsing almost any nutrient I understand enough about, while slowly pulsing enough iodine to push a small amount of detox, without enough to make me feel worn out or other detox symptoms. There are times I go weeks without any iodine, and when I finally do get more, I don't notice much of anything at any dose. And then there are times I reintroduce iodine, and my body responds very well to it, so I continue getting more for a bit. I'm rebuilding trillions of cells by giving them what they want without overdoing it. It's just like a garden or a chia pet or whatever it is. Like, you find something, you enjoy it, and realize it's fun or whatever. You can't just smother it. And we have to look at ourselves that way. We have to nurture them without just being like, oh my God, and dumping everything on them. I've seen this idea mentioned by various different doctors, but Ben Lynch is the first one that I've seen explain it in a very similar way as I see it. 5 minutes into this video, he explains his idea of pulse dosing, which is, again, similar but different. His book, Dirty Genes, explains a little more about pulse dosing, but he covered that mainly in the video above. Still a great book to read if you haven't. And that's it for pulse dosing. Then we get into some more stuff, which, helps you understand how this fits into iodine. Then you can click the thumbs up thing because you like it so much. And then there's a bunch of other content again. So, thanks for watching. And if you enjoy this stuff, go ahead and share it. And at the bottom of my site, you can help contribute, or you can use my affiliate links if you like it. Just sharing, commenting, engaging in it somehow is pretty cool. Heading over to my website, unpilled.tv, will help you find any of the other videos I'm working on at whatever point, whether I stop doing this again or continue doing it or do other topics or whatever. And if you have any feedback, questions, I'm all open ears or whatever if I actually hear the notification.